The rain fell on Forsyth Park like the sky was trying to wash something away. Imani Boutright stood at the wrought iron gates of the Pemberton mansion, soaked clean through her thin dress, one hand pressed against the small curve of her belly, where 2 heartbeats fluttered against her palm. 3 months along.
Twins.
The doctor had said it with a smile, like he was handing her a present. 2 babies. 2 of him. She had come to tell him. She had taken the bus from her aunt's house on East Henry Street, walked the 4 blocks past the Spanish moss and the live oaks, rehearsed the words 100 times in her head. Toby, I am pregnant. Toby, we are having twins. Toby, what do we do now? The front door of the mansion was open. The chandelier inside threw gold light across the marble foyer. She could see them all standing there. Tobias Pemberton in his charcoal suit, his mother Eleanor in pearls and a cream silk blouse, his sister Mona with her arms folded like a closed book, and a 4th person, a woman Imani had never seen before. Tall, blonde-streaked hair, a Charleston accent that cut clean through the rain. This is what you want to bring into this family? Eleanor was saying. Her voice carried out into the wet air like a knife. Some little catering girl who cannot even keep herself out of the rain? Imani could not move. Her feet had grown roots through the slate stones. Mama, please. Do not mama me, Tobias. Tell her. Tell her now. Toby turned then. He saw Imani at the gate. His face did a thing she would remember the rest of her life. It went from soft to stone in the time it took to take one breath, like watching a door close from the inside. He walked out onto the porch. He did not come down the steps. The rain hit the brim of his hat and ran off in a clean line. Imani. His voice was tired, like she had asked him for too much already. You should not have come. Toby. Her hand was still on her belly. She did not know how to take it away. I need to talk to you. There is something. There is nothing to talk about. He spoke the words like he was reading them off a card. Whatever it is, we are done. I am done. My family does not approve. You knew that from the beginning. Tobias. His mother's voice behind him, sharp as a blade. Tell her clearly. Tell her, so there is no question. He looked at his shoes. He looked back at Imani. The rain was running into her eyes. It was a mistake, he said. All of it. Whatever you came to say, the answer is no. Do not come back here. The blonde woman appeared in the doorway. She did not speak. She did not need to. Eleanor Pemberton stepped out onto the porch then, holding a black umbrella some servant had handed her. She came halfway down the steps so that Imani could see her clearly. She had the face of a woman who had won every fight she had ever been in. You are not the first, Eleanor said. Her voice was almost kind. That was the cruelest part. Girls like you come here every year, thinking you have found something. You have found nothing. Whatever is in your hand, whatever is in your head, whatever is in your... Her eyes flicked down. Whatever else, we will not be paying for it. Do you understand me, child? We are not paying for anything. Go home. The word child hung in the wet air. Imani did not say a word. She did not beg. She did not cry. Her grandmother had taught her, back on the island, what to do when a snake showed its teeth. You did not run. You did not strike. You stepped back slowly, and you let the snake remember it was alone. She took one step back, then another. Her shoes filled with rain. The wrought iron gate clicked shut behind her with a sound like a small bell. She walked all the way home, for blocks. 40 minutes in the rain. By the time she reached her aunt's porch on East Henry, the rain had stopped and the sun had come out, gold and steaming, and she could not tell where the rain ended and her own tears began. Aunt Pearl was on the porch in her housecoat, snapping green beans into a colander. She looked at Imani once and put the beans down. Come here, baby. Imani let her aunt fold her in. She was 23 years old. She had a culinary certificate from Savannah Tech, 2 part-time jobs, $800 at her bank account, and 2 babies growing inside her that the richest family in 3 counties did not want. She thought, on Aunt Pearl's porch, with the sweet smell of wet jasmine in the air, that this was the end of her life. It was the beginning. 6 months earlier, she had not known Tobias Pemberton existed. She had been working a wedding at the old pink house, plating crab cakes in the back of the kitchen, when one of the groomsmen wandered into the prep area looking for ice. He was tall, light-skinned, with a smile that came too easy, and he asked her name 3 times before she gave it. Imani, he said the 3rd time. That means faith. My grandmother spoke Swahili. Your grandmother spoke Swahili, she said flat. In Savannah. He laughed. He had a good laugh. He told her his grandmother had been a professor at Spelman before she married into the Pembertons. He told her his mother had a list of suitable women a foot long, and he was not in love with any of them. He came back the next week to the catering company where she worked. He came back the week after that. He took her to dinner in a part of town she had only seen from the bus. He told her she was the realest thing he had touched in years. She had been raised by a gullah grandmother who had warned her about men who used the word real like a currency. She had not listened. 6 months. 6 months of stolen dinners and walks through Bonaventure Cemetery, and one weekend in a little cabin near Beaufort where he had told her he loved her, and she had believed him. 6 months, until the morning she stood in her aunt's bathroom looking at 2 pink lines on a stick, and then 2 more, and the doctor had said twins, and she had taken the bus to the mansion to tell him. 6 months and 4 blocks in the rain and 1 sentence. It was a mistake. That night, on the fold-out couch in her aunt's spare room, Imani Boutright placed both hands on her stomach and made her babies a promise. You will never know what this day felt like. You will never want for anything. You will grow up tall and proud. And you will never, ever beg. She did not know how she would keep that promise. She only knew that she would. And in the dark, while the moths beat soft against the screen, she heard the old porch swing creak in the wind like a small voice answering back. Like the house itself was telling her, "Child, you have no idea what is coming." Aunt Pearl drove her down to Sapelo on a Saturday morning that smelled of marsh mud and gasoline. The ferry from Meridian Dock was slow that day. Imani sat at the back railing and watched the salt grass slide past, gold and green and bending with the wind. The hand on her belly had not left it for 3 days. She had not eaten much. She had not slept much. She was 23 years old, and her body had become a place she did not know how to live in. Aunt Pearl did not push her to talk. Aunt Pearl was 42 and ran the busiest hair salon in Savannah, the Crown and Glory on Bull Street, and she knew how silence worked. "Mama will know what to do," was all she said when the ferry pulled into Hog Hammock Landing. Grandma Ruth Boutright was waiting for them at the dock in a faded yellow dress and a head wrap the color of okra blossoms. She was 76. Her hands were the color of cypress bark. She had buried 2 husbands and 1 son, and she had not lost a fight with the world yet. She looked at Imani once and knew everything. "Come on, baby. The fish is in the pot." The Boutright house sat on 8 acres of land on the north end of the island, land that had been in the family since 1869, since the year Grandma Ruth's great-great-grandfather Cuffy Boutright had bought it with money saved from selling cast nets on the docks at Darien. 8 acres. A dog-trot house painted the color of a Sunday hat. A live oak so big the children had named it. A creek that ran sweet water all summer. They ate red rice and stewed fish on the back porch. Imani could not eat. She could only watch the marsh. "Twins," Grandma Ruth said finally. It was not a question. "How did you know?" "Your mama, the Lord rest her, was a twin. The line goes down. I felt it before you got off that ferry." Imani told her everything. The mansion, the rain, the word mistake, the way Toby had not even come down the steps, the way his mother had spoken the word child like it was something to spit out. Grandma Ruth listened without speaking. When Imani was done, the old woman reached out and put her hand on Imani's belly. "2 souls in there," she said. 2 whole souls the Lord made on purpose. And some boy with a gold watch wants to say they a mistake. Child, please." Imani started crying then. Not the way she had not cried at the gate. This was the deeper crying, the kind that comes up from the bottom. Grandma Ruth let her cry. She did not hush her. She did not pat her. She let the crying come because crying is also a kind of work that has to be done. When the crying eased, Grandma Ruth spoke. "Listen to me now, baby. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am." "The Pembertons. I know that name. My mama scrubbed floors in that house in 1953. They was mean then, and they mean now. Mean got a long memory. But listen, you think you alone in this. You ain't. This land you sitting on, this porch, this oak, this is yours. Always was. Always will be. Don't you ever stand at nobody else gate begging. You hear me? Don't you ever. They want to close they door, you let them. Yours is open. Grandma, I don't know how to do this. You don't have to know how. You just have to keep walking. You walk one step. Then you walk the next one. That's it. That's the whole thing. What about money? Money come. Money always come if you keep your hands working and your mouth shut. You finish that culinary thing you was doing. You get on at one of them catering houses. Pearl gonna put you up till you can stand. I gonna come up there twice a month and help you.
Errol. She stopped.
Errol was Imani's father. He had been gone 11 years. He had a problem with the bottle and a problem with staying in one place, and they had not heard from him since the funeral. Errol gonna find his way back, Grandma Ruth said. The Lord ain't done with him. But you don't wait on him. You start where you standing. That night, Imani slept on the back porch with the screen door open, and the babies kicked for the first time, soft little flutters like fish underwater. She put her hands on her belly, and she listened. When she got back to Savannah on Monday, there was a package on Aunt Pearl's porch. No return address. A heavy brown envelope wrapped in twine. Inside was a stack of $100 bills, 50 of them, $5,000 in cash, and a single typed line on cream cardstock. For your trouble, do not contact this family again. E.S.P. Aunt Pearl looked at the cash, and then at Imani. You want me to drive you over there, so you can throw it back in her face? No, Imani said. She took the envelope. She walked it to the corner mailbox. She bought a manila envelope at the corner store and a money order receipt at the bank. She had every bill photographed by a notary public on Broughton Street who charged her $30 she did not have. She mailed the cash, the receipt, and a single line in her own handwriting back to the Pemberton address. Keep your money. My children are not for sale. I.B. She kept the notary photos. She kept the certified mail slip. She put them in a manila folder in the bottom drawer of Aunt Pearl's spare room dresser, under her winter sweaters, and she did not look at them again for 9 years. By the time the babies came, 6 months later, Imani had a part-time job at Sweet Lula's Bakery on Habersham, a night class in small business management at Savannah State, and a name picked out for the boy and a name picked out for the girl. What she did not have, what she did not yet know she would have, was the slow-burning thing that had started in her the moment she stepped back from the wrought iron gate. Some folks call it bitterness. Grandma Ruth called it fuel. And on a cool October night, 3 weeks before her due date, Imani came home from work and found a second envelope on the porch. Same handwriting on the front. Same heavy paper. This one was not from the Pembertons. This one was from a name she did not recognize. And inside, folded in half, was a photograph that would change everything. The photograph was of her mother, Loretta Boutwright at 22, in a white chef's coat too big for her shoulders, standing behind the line at a restaurant in New Orleans that Imani had never heard of. Le Marais, the sign behind her said. Her hair was pulled back. Her smile was the same smile Imani saw in the mirror. On the back of the photo, written in a clean blue ink, your mother trained under me one summer in 1999. She had hands like a surgeon. I have been watching your career on Instagram. When you are ready to leave Savannah, call me. V. Marchand. There was a phone number with a 504 area code. Imani had never posted her food to Instagram. She had a private account where she put her crab cake plating and her low country boil and her sweet potato cornbread. 23 followers, mostly cousins. Somehow this woman, this stranger with her mother's photograph, had found her. Imani put the picture on her dresser. She did not call the number. Not yet. The babies came first. Naomi Boutwright was born first, on a Sunday morning in late October, 6 pounds even, with a head full of dark curls and her grandmother's quiet eyes. Noah Boutwright was born 7 minutes later, also 6 pounds, with the long fingers of a piano player and the calm of a child who had already decided the world could wait. Imani held them both at once, and she did not cry. She was too tired to cry. She was too full of something she could not name. Aunt Pearl was in the chair by the window with her phone out, calling everyone she had ever met. Grandma Ruth was on her way up from the island in a borrowed truck. Imani looked at her two babies in the hospital light, and she said their full names out loud for the first time. Naomi Loretta Boutwright. Noah Errol Boutwright. The names of the grandmothers and the grandfathers. The names of the dead and the lost and the still coming home. She named them after no one with the last name Pemberton. That same week, 3 blocks away on Bull Street, Sterling Pemberton died. He had been sick a long time. The papers said pancreatic cancer. The papers said a private funeral. The papers said the Pemberton Hospitality Group, owner of 4 hotels and 7 restaurants in Savannah and Charleston, would be passed to his widow Eleanor and his son Tobias, with his daughter Mona on the board. Imani read it standing in line at the WIC office with 2 infant carriers strapped to her chest. She did not feel anything. She thought she would. She did not. 3 months later, in February, the Savannah Morning News ran a wedding announcement. Mr. Tobias Pemberton and Miss Camille Beaumont, of the Charleston Beaumonts, married yesterday at the Pemberton family home in the presence of 300 guests. The bride wore Vera Wang. The reception featured oysters flown in from Apalachicola and a 5-tier cake by a New York pastry chef. A honeymoon in the south of France will follow. The photograph showed Toby in a tuxedo with his hand on the small of Camille's back. He was smiling like a man who had been told it was the right thing to do. Aunt Pearl set the paper down on the kitchen table. "You want me to burn this?" "No," Imani said. She was nursing Noah on the couch. Naomi was asleep on her shoulder. "Put it in the drawer with the rest of it." The drawer was the bottom drawer of the dresser. The manila folder was getting fat. Notary slips. Certified mail receipts. Now a newspaper clipping. Imani did not know yet why she was keeping these things. She only knew that she should. Time moved the way it moves when you have 2 babies. Slow inside the day, fast inside the year. By the time the twins were 6 months old, Imani had moved out of Aunt Pearl's spare room and into a small 1-bedroom on East Henry, 2 doors down. By the time they were 1, she had finished her business certificate. By the time they were 18 months, she was working 3 jobs. Prep cook at a bistro on Liberty Street, weekend caterer for a small company called Coastal Plates, and tester for a bakery that paid in cash and stale loaves. She was tired all the time. She did not have a hairstyle anymore. She had a bun. She did not have a wardrobe. She had 2 pairs of black pants and 4 kitchen jackets. She had not been on a date, and she did not want to be. What she did have was a notebook. Every recipe she invented. Every plating idea she had at 3 in the morning. Every supplier she met who would talk to a young black woman in a kitchen jacket. Every customer's name. Every restaurant that closed and reopened. Every empty storefront on Broughton Street and what month it became available. She wrote it all down. Aunt Pearl said she wrote in that book like a preacher writes a sermon. Like every word was going to be needed later. The twins were 20 months old when Imani finally called the 504 number. It rang 4 times. A voice answered, low and unhurried, with a Creole edge. "Marchand. Ma'am, my name is Imani Boutwright. I do not know if you remember sending me a photograph 2 years ago, but—" "Loretta's girl." Imani's throat went tight. "Yes, ma'am. It took you long enough. I had babies, ma'am. I know about the babies. Pearl Boutwright Geddes is my second cousin twice removed. We've been talking about you a long time, child. You ready to come to New Orleans?" "Ma'am, I have 2 babies. They are not even 2 years old." "Well, when they 3, you come. You let your grandmother and your aunt keep them on that island for a season. You come to me for 1 year. I will teach you everything I know. Then you go home and build the thing the Lord put in your hands. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am."
"Good. Eat. Sleep.
"Save your money. Write me when you're ready." The line went dead. Imani sat at her kitchen table with the phone in her hand, and the babies asleep in their crib in the next room. 3 years felt very far away. She did not know that 3 years later, the call she would receive would not be the one she expected. She did not know that by then, the woman on the other end of the line would have a diagnosis she did not yet know about, a year less to live than she thought, and a will already written that had Imani's name in it. For now, the kitchen was warm. The babies were breathing. The notebook was full. Imani took her bun down, washed her face, and went back to work. The twins turned 3 on a Tuesday in October. Imani made them a sweet potato cake with brown butter icing. Naomi blew out her candle in one breath and immediately tried to blow out Noah's. Noah, even at 3, was a thinker. He looked at his sister, looked at the candle, and let her have the win without saying a word. 2 days later, Imani sat with Grandma Ruth on the back porch of the Sapello house, and she told her she had to leave.
She did not want to.
The words came out of her mouth like glass. New Orleans, baby? Just for 1 year. Maybe 10 months. Chef Marchand says she will train me, pay me a stipend. She has connections in the food world I cannot make any other way. I have been working 3 jobs for 2.5 years, and I cannot get higher than this. Not in Savannah. Not by myself. Grandma Ruth rocked. The chair creaked. The marsh smelled of low tide. And the babies? Imani could not look at her. I was hoping they could stay with you. And Aunt Pearl on the weekends. Just for the school year. It takes a village, Grandma Ruth said. Let the village take them.
Grandma.
They are 3. They will not even remember me when I come back. Yes, they will. Babies remember the smell of their mama. You come home every 6 weeks. We will FaceTime every night. You will not be a stranger. You will be a mama who is fighting for them, and they will know what that looks like when they grown. I am scared. Of course you are scared. That is the right feeling to have. The wrong feeling would be not scared. Now go pack your bag. She packed the bag. She kissed her babies' heads until they squirmed away from her. She got on a Greyhound bus in Savannah at 5 in the morning, and she got off in New Orleans 14 hours later, swollen-ankled and red-eyed, with $812 in her bank account and a duffel bag full of chef coats. Vivian Marchand was waiting at the bus station in a teal Cadillac. She was 68, 5 feet tall, with hair the color of a steel wool pad and a gold cross around her neck the size of a quarter. You look like your mama, she said. You hungry? She took Imani to a restaurant called Le Marais in the Treme, and she fed her gumbo and bread pudding, and she asked her 3 questions. What do you want to build? How long do you have to build it? What are you afraid of? Imani had not been asked those questions in her life.
She thought about it.
She told the truth. I want to build a restaurant that makes Gullah Geechee food the way my grandmother makes it, but plated like it deserves to be plated. I have 10 months. I am afraid I am not enough. Vivian looked at her for a long time. You are enough. That is not the question. The question is whether you will work hard enough that when the door opens, you can walk through it without limping. We start tomorrow at 4 in the morning. For 10 months, Imani lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a praline shop on Esplanade Avenue, and she worked from 4 in the morning until 11 at night. Vivian taught her things no school could teach. How to break down a whole flounder in under a minute. How to make a roux the color of an old penny. How to taste a stock and know what was missing without tasting any of the parts. How to read a profit and loss statement. How to fire a cook with kindness. How to walk into a bank in a chef coat and ask for $250,000 without sweating. In the evenings, Vivian taught her something else. The business of being a black woman who owned a restaurant in the American South. How to keep your books so clean that no inspector could touch you. How to choose your liquor distributor. How to talk to a food writer without giving them ammunition. How to dress for a city council meeting. How to spot a partner who would steal from you before they did. Power, Vivian said, is not what you have. It is what they cannot take from you. Imani wrote that on the inside cover of her notebook. She FaceTimed the twins every night at 7. Naomi told her about a chicken on Sapello named Doodle. Noah held up his drawings of boats. Grandma Ruth's face came on at the end of every call. We fine, baby. You learn. In month 6, on a Thursday afternoon, Vivian came out of her doctor's office and got into the teal Cadillac and sat for a long time before she put the car in gear. She did not tell Imani for 2 more weeks. She did not tell anyone. In month 8, Vivian started leaving the kitchen earlier. By 9 instead of 11. By 8. By 7. She gave Imani the lunch service. Then the dinner service. Why are you giving me everything? Imani asked one night, scrubbing down the line at midnight. Because you are ready. That is not an answer. Vivian looked at her over her cup of chicory coffee. Sit down, baby. Imani sat. I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, Vivian said. The same kind that had killed Sterling Pemberton, though Imani would not think of that until much later. I have known for 2 months. I have maybe 6 months. Maybe 4. The doctor said I should not have flown to Atlanta last week. I went anyway. I am going to teach you everything I can for as long as I can, and then I am going to go home to my sister in Lafayette, and I am going to die there. You're not going to cry now. You are going to listen. There is a will. My lawyer will call you when it is time.
You do not call me crying about it.
You call me with questions about the brunch menu. Are we clear? Imani was not clear.
Imani could not breathe.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Get the mirepoix going. We open in 5 hours. For 2 more months, Imani worked beside the woman who was teaching her the entire shape of her life, while the woman was dying. Vivian did not slow down. She got smaller. Her chef coats hung looser. Her hands shook a little in the morning, but she never lost the edge of her voice or the precision of her seasoning. In month 10, Vivian flew home to Lafayette. In month 11, she called Imani one last time. You go back to Savannah, child. You do not come to my funeral. You stay where the work is. The work is the prayer. You hear me? Yes, ma'am. Tell my namesake about me one day. Ma'am, your next girl, baby. The one you are going to have. She is going to be named Vivian. I have already decided. Imani laughed for the first time in a month. Ma'am, I am not having any more children. We will see. Now go finish your service. I love you. The line clicked. 2 weeks later, Vivian Marchand was dead. The lawyer called the following Tuesday. He asked Imani if she could come to New Orleans to sign some papers. She did not know yet what the papers said. She did not know yet that her life was about to change a second time, and that this time, the change would come from a hand that had loved her instead of a hand that had let her go. The papers said Vivian Marchand had left Imani about right $217,000, the full recipe book of Le Marais, a 1986 Jenn-Air convection oven, and a handwritten letter sealed in wax. Imani read the letter alone in the lawyer's office in the warehouse district. It was 4 sentences long. Build it small first. Build it where they remember you for the wrong thing. Build it so quiet they do not see it coming. Build it so well they cannot tear it down.
V.
Imani folded the letter and put it in the inside pocket of her jacket. She flew back to Savannah on a Tuesday. The twins were 4.5 years old. They had been on the island for the full 10 months with Grandma Ruth and Aunt Pearl, with weekend visits and nightly calls and a paper chain in their bedroom counting down the days. She picked them up from Aunt Pearl's house. Naomi launched at her like a small storm and would not let go for a full hour. Noah held her hand for the rest of the day and would not say a word. By bedtime he had whispered into her neck, "Are you staying?" "I am staying," she said. He nodded once into her shoulder and went to sleep. For a month Imani did nothing. She slept. She cooked simple food for her children. She walked them to the playground at Forsyth Park, the very same park whose iron gates she had stood at 5 years before. The Pemberton mansion was 4 blocks west of those gates. She did not walk that direction. In the second month, she signed a lease on a small kitchen space on West 38th Street, just outside the historic district, in a building that had once been a corner grocery. $2,000 a month. 2 walk-in coolers. A loading dock that could fit her 1 borrowed van. She put a sign on the door that said Boutwright Table in plain black letters, and she opened for catering. The first month she had 3 jobs. A birthday party for a realtor. A retirement luncheon for a high school teacher. A funeral repast at the Coiler-Brownsville AME church that Reverend Esther Lemoyne had put her name in for. By the 3rd month, she had 17 jobs. Reverend Lemoyne told a garden club president. The garden club president told a hospital foundation. The hospital foundation told the junior league. By the 6th month, Imani had 2 part-time cooks and a delivery driver and an old white minivan that said Boutwright Table on the side in gold vinyl letters Solomon had paid for. Solomon Boutwright was her father's brother's son. Her cousin. They had grown up next door to each other on the island for the summers of their childhood. He was 28 years old, the same age she was, and he had just passed the Georgia bar exam. He showed up at her catering kitchen one Saturday morning in a navy suit with 2 cups of coffee and a manila folder. "You need a lawyer." "I cannot pay you." "I am not asking. We are family. I do your business filings. I do your contracts. I do your tax structure. When you make $1 million, you can pay me. Until then, this is what cousins do." He set up her LLC. He set up her S-Corp. He registered her trademark on the words "Boutwright Table." He set up a separate holding company for any real estate she might one day buy. He drew up a simple will. He drew up legal guardianship paperwork that put the twins with Aunt Pearl and Grandma Ruth in the unlikely event anything happened to their mother. He did not put a single word about their father on any document anywhere. "That door is closed," he said when she asked. "We are not even leaving a crack." In the 8th month back, Imani was unloading her van in front of an event at the Telfair Academy when she heard a voice say her name. It was a voice she had not heard in 12 years. She turned around. Errol Boutwright was standing on the sidewalk with his hands in his pockets and his shoulders pulled up like he was bracing against a wind that was not there. He was 54 years old. He had a salt and pepper beard and a clean white shirt and shoes that had been polished that morning. He looked smaller than she remembered. People always look smaller when you grow up. "Hey, baby." She did not move.
Daddy.
"I've been clean 4 years. I've been working at a body shop in Augusta. I've been coming to this church on Habersham every Sunday for 2 years. I've been waiting.
Pearl told me you was back.
I've been trying to find the courage. I did not want to come into your house. I wanted you to see me first." Imani put down the chafing dish she was holding. "Why now?" "Because the babies, Imani. Your mama would have been so proud of them. I've been a coward. I am still a coward. But I am a coward who shows up. I am not asking nothing from you. I just want to see them. I want them to know they got people." She looked at him for a long time. The thing in her chest was not forgiveness. Forgiveness was a long thing, and she did not have time for long things. But it was not closed either. "Sunday," she said. 2 o'clock. Aunt Pearl's house. You eat dinner with us.
You do not buy them anything.
You do not promise them anything. You sit on the floor, and you let them climb on you, and you remember every single thing they tell you. "Yes, ma'am." And, "Daddy." "Yes, baby." If you slip, if you so much as touch a beer, you will not see them again. I do not have it in me to forgive twice. I will not slip. He did not slip. By the twins' 5th birthday, Errol Boutwright was a regular fixture at the Boutwright Table commissary, sweeping floors at 6 in the morning, lifting boxes Imani's back was tired of lifting, walking the twins to school 3 mornings a week. He did not ask for a paycheck. Imani paid him anyway. In the 10th month back, Imani took her first walk down River Street alone. It was late, after dinner service, and she had wanted a praline from the candy shop on the corner. She was wearing her chef coat over jeans. Her hair was in 2 long braids. She did not look like the woman who had stood in the rain at the Pemberton gate. She was crossing Bay Street when she saw him. Tobias Pemberton was coming out of the old pink house with 2 men in business suits. He was thinner than he had been. There was gray at his temples that had not been there before. He was laughing at something one of the men had said, the laugh that had once seemed easy and now just looked like a thing he had taught his face to do. He looked right at her. He looked right through her. He did not recognize her. She kept walking. The praline shop was closed. She walked all the way home. She did not tell anyone. That night, she stood in her kitchen with both hands on the counter, breathing slow, and she felt the slow burning thing in her chest turn over for the first time in a long time. Not anger. Something cleaner than anger. Something that had a shape now. Something that was beginning to look like a plan. She did not know that a magazine writer named Augustina Pelham was, that very same night, 3 blocks away, sitting at her laptop typing the words, "I want to pitch you a profile on a chef in Savannah you have never heard of." She did not know that the email had a name attached to it, and that the name was about to travel further than Imani had ever dreamed. The magazine article ran 14 months later. By then, a lot had happened. Imani had bought the building on West 38th Street outright with the rest of the Marchand money and a small business loan she paid back in 19 months instead of 7 years. She had converted the back half of the building into a 48-seat restaurant. The dining room had reclaimed pine floors from a tobacco barn in Statesboro and walls the color of unsweet tea, and a single neon sign behind the host stand that said table in cursive script. She had opened on a Thursday in March of the 7th year. The first night, they served 48 people. The second night, they served 72, with a wait list. By the second month, the wait list was 2 weeks long. By the 6th month, 3 months. The food was simple. The food was what her grandmother had cooked, plated the way Vivian Marchand had taught her. Red rice with smoked turkey, crab and shrimp boil with sweet corn, whole roasted flounder with a brown butter and Benny seed crust, sweet potato cornbread baked in a cast iron the size of a dinner plate, a peach cobbler that came out in a small skillet for 2 with a scoop of buttermilk ice cream sliding down the side. The customers were everyone. White couples down from Atlanta, Black families from across the river, tourists from Charleston, the mayor of Savannah and his wife on their anniversary, a Food Network producer who left her card, a James Beard nominee who left a $100 tip on a $40 tab. Imani worked the line every service for the first 10 months. By month 11, she had a sous chef who could take Wednesdays. By month 13, 2 sous chefs. She started spending more time in the office and less time at the pass. She started wearing a tailored chef coat instead of a borrowed one. She had her hair grown out and twisted into long sister locks that fell past her shoulders. She had a single pair of small gold hoop earrings she wore every day. The twins were 6 years old by then. They had a routine. School at Charles Ellis Montessori. After-school care until 5. Dinner at the restaurant in a corner booth, doing their homework, eating staff meal with the cooks who all spoiled them and called them Chef Junior and Boss Lady. Bedtime at the apartment Imani had bought on East Henry Street, the house she had moved into when she had finally been able to put a down payment on a home of her own. Errol came to dinner every Sunday. Aunt Pearl came on Tuesdays. Grandma Ruth came up from the island for the first weekend of every month. Solomon ate at the restaurant at least twice a week, taking client meetings in the back booth. Across town, the Pembertons were not doing well. The Pemberton Hospitality Group had hit a bad year. In the summer of the 6th year after the wedding, a Black guest at the Pemberton Bay Street Hotel had been profiled by the front desk staff and asked to leave the lobby while waiting for his sister. The man had been a sitting judge from Atlanta. He had not filed a lawsuit. He had filed something worse. A long, polite, devastating opinion piece in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that named the hotel and named Eleanor Pemberton and named 3 specific incidents. The piece had been reprinted in 7 papers. 2 corporate clients had pulled their conference contracts. The Charleston Hotel had lost its Forbes star. A wedding planner who controlled half the bookings on the coast had quietly stopped sending her brides to any Pemberton property. The group was bleeding revenue. Eleanor had refused to issue an apology. Tobias had wanted to. Eleanor had won that fight. In the 7th year, Camille Beaumont Pemberton filed for divorce. The reasons given to the court were boring. Irreconcilable differences. The reasons whispered at the Charleston Ladies' League luncheon were less boring. There was a younger woman. There was a drinking problem. There was a mother-in-law who could not be lived with. There was a husband who had been quietly absent from his own life for years. Camille moved back to Charleston. The Beaumont family money, which had been supporting the Pemberton balance sheet, went with her. By the 8th year, Pemberton Hospitality was in talks with a private equity firm to sell 2 of its 4 hotels. Imani read about it in the business section over coffee and a beignet. She did not feel triumph. She did not feel sorrow. She felt the way you feel when a weather system you have been watching on the radar finally lands on the coast where you are not standing. The magazine article came out in October of the 8th year. Augustina Pelham, who had spent 3 days following Imani around the kitchen, eating at the restaurant, riding in the van out to a wedding she catered on Tybee Island, had written a profile that ran 9 pages in Garden and Gun magazine. The cover had a black and white photograph of Imani in her chef coat, leaning against the doorframe of the restaurant, looking out at the camera with a slight, tired smile. The headline read The Quiet Fire of Imani Boutright, How a Gullah Geechee Chef is Rewriting Southern Food. Inside, on page 3, there was a smaller photograph. It showed Imani standing in front of the restaurant at sunset. On either side of her, holding her hands, were two children. A girl in a yellow dress with her hair in two puffs. A boy in a button-down and clip-on bow tie. They were 8 years old. They were beautiful. They had their mother's chin. The caption read, Chef Boutright with her twins, Naomi and Noah, age 8. 300 miles up the coast, in the front room of the Pemberton mansion on the morning the magazine arrived, Eleanor Pemberton was drinking her second cup of coffee when her assistant set the magazine on the silver tray with the mail. Eleanor did not read Garden and Gun. She picked it up anyway. She had heard the name Boutright Table mentioned twice that week at her gardening club, once in a tone that had irritated her. She flipped to the feature. She did not get past the photograph on page 3. She set the magazine down very carefully. She walked across the foyer. She climbed the stairs to her son's old bedroom, which was still his bedroom because he had moved back home after the divorce. She knocked once. She did not wait for a response. Tobias. He was at his desk in a half-buttoned shirt looking at a spreadsheet. She set the magazine on his desk. Page 3. He looked at her.
He looked at the magazine.
He turned to page 3. He did not breathe for a full 30 seconds. The boy had his exact eyes. Hazel, with a green ring around the pupil. The Pemberton eyes. His grandfather's eyes. His father's eyes. He looked up at his mother. His mother looked back at him. Neither one of them said the word out loud. They did not have to. Tobias Pemberton did not sleep that night. He sat in his childhood bedroom with a magazine open on the desk and a glass of bourbon he had poured at midnight and not touched. The boy in the photograph kept looking back at him. Around 2 in the morning, he started doing the math. The babies would be nearing 9 years old in October. The article said they were 8. He counted backwards. 9 months. 12 more months. 11 more months. He landed on the spring of the year he had rejected her at the gate. He landed on the exact week. He went to the bathroom and was sick. In the morning he drove down to Savannah. He told his mother he was going to a meeting with a private equity firm. He drove past the meeting. He parked his car 2 blocks from West 38th Street, and he walked the rest of the way, and he stood across the street from a small building with reclaimed brick and a sign that said Boutright Table. It was 4 in the afternoon. The restaurant was not open yet. The front windows were dark. He watched the side door. He watched it for 40 minutes. At 10 minutes to 5, a woman in a black hairdresser's smock came up the sidewalk holding the hands of 2 children. The woman was older now, but he knew her. Aunt Pearl. He had met her once, 8 years ago, when he had picked Imani up from the salon to take her to dinner. The girl had her mother's quiet eyes. The boy had his. Tobias Pemberton stood across the street and watched his children go into a building he did not know the name of, holding the hand of a woman who had been raising them for nearly a decade. He went back to his car. He drove home. He did not tell his mother what he had done. For 3 weeks, he did nothing. For 3 weeks, he did not eat much. He showed up at the office. He made phone calls about the private equity deal. He read the magazine article 40 times. He memorized it. In the 4th week, his mother brought it up at breakfast. Tobias, we have to talk about this. There is nothing to talk about. There is everything to talk about. Those are Pemberton children. Those are her children, Mama. That is the same thing. It is not. It is not the same thing at all. Eleanor set her coffee down. Listen to me. The business is on the floor. We are 6 months from selling the Charleston property. The lawsuit in the Atlanta paper cost us $7 million in canceled contracts. We need something. We need a story. We need a future. Those children are the future of this family. We're going to bring them home.
Mama.
She is not going to give them to us. She does not have a choice. There are courts. There is paternity. There are grandparent rights in this state. We have lawyers. We have a name. She has a restaurant. We will be reasonable. We will be generous. But we are going to do this. Tobias looked at his mother across the breakfast table for a long time. You sent her cash, Mama. 8 years ago.
Did you know that?
His mother's face did not move. I do not recall. $5,000. With a note. To make her go away. She sent it back. She sent it back with a notary photograph and a certified mail slip. His mother's lips thinned. How do you know that? Because the cousin who is a lawyer told a friend who told a partner at my firm. They have files, Mama. They have files going back 9 years. She has been preparing for this since the day she walked away from our gate. Then we will be prepared too. He did not eat his breakfast. That afternoon he drove back down to Savannah. He sat in his car across from the restaurant for 2 hours. The dinner service started at 5:30. The first guests went in at 5:45. By 6 the dining room was full. He could see her through the window. She was at the chef's pass in a white coat, calling tickets, plating. She moved the way a surgeon moves. She did not look up. He got out of his car. He crossed the street. He stood at the front door of the restaurant for a long minute. He could see the host stand through the glass. The hostess was a young woman with a friendly face. She had no idea who he was. He could turn around. He could go back to his car. He could drive back to Savannah and tell his mother, no, we are not doing this. He could send a letter through a lawyer that asked nothing and offered everything and waited for her terms. He could be, for the first time in his life, the man he had been pretending to be. He took a step back from the door. Then he heard his mother's voice in his head, the voice that had raised him, the voice that had told him at 16, when he had cried about not making the lacrosse team, that Pembertons do not lose because Pembertons do not enter contests they have not already won. He pulled open the door. The hostess looked up. She had a clipboard. Welcome to Boutwright Table. Do you have a reservation? I am here to speak with Chef Boutwright. I am so sorry, sir. The chef is on the line tonight. Is there something I can help with? Tell her Tobias Pemberton is here. The hostess's smile did not waver. She had been trained well, but something in her shoulders set. One moment, sir. She walked through the dining room. She walked behind the bar. She walked into the kitchen. Imani was calling a fish ticket. Pearl, fennel, brown butter, table 17. The hostess waited until the ticket was called.
Chef.
There is a man at the door who says he is Tobias Pemberton. Imani did not stop moving. She wiped a thumbprint off a plate. She set the plate on the pass. She rang the bell. Tell Mr. Pemberton to wait at the bar. Send him a sparkling water with lime. I will be with him after the 7 o'clock seating goes out. That is approximately 53 minutes from now. If he cannot wait that long, tell him he is welcome to make an appointment with my attorney. Yes, chef. The hostess walked back out to the front. Imani called the next ticket. Her hands did not shake. Toby waited 53 minutes at the bar. He did not order anything but the sparkling water. He drank it in small sips. He watched the dining room. He watched the cooks through the small window into the kitchen. He saw a flash of his daughter's yellow dress in the back hallway, gone before he could be sure it was real. At 7:53, Imani came out of the kitchen. She did not take off her chef coat. She did not wash her hands. She walked across the dining room, and she stood at the end of the bar where he was sitting, and she looked at him. The first thing he noticed was that she was not the woman who had stood at his gate. That woman was gone. The woman in front of him had built something the rain could not get into. Mr. Pemberton.
Imani, please.
Tobias. Mr. Pemberton. We can speak in my office. Or we can speak here at the bar. The bar is more public. I would prefer it. The office, if you will allow. This way. She walked him through the kitchen, past the dishwashers and the pastry station, into a small office in the back with a window that looked out on a brick alley. The walls were painted a soft green. There was a desk with a laptop, a small bookshelf, a single framed photograph of 2 children on a beach. There was a chair on the customer side of the desk and a chair on her side. She did not offer him coffee. She did not offer him water. She did not sit. He sat. She did not. I read the article, he said. A lot of people did. The children. My children, Mr. Pemberton. They are mine too. They are not. Imani. You will call me Ms. Boutwright. We are not on a first-name basis. We have not been for 9 years. He opened his mouth. He closed it. I am sorry, he said finally. I am so sorry. I should have said it 9 years ago. I should have said it in the rain. I should have come down those steps. I have thought about that moment every day of my life since. And yet, Mr. Pemberton, I do not need your apology. I had to learn not to need it. I have been not needing it for a long time now. So, if you came here to deliver one, I will accept it for the historical record. But it does not change anything that is going to happen in this office. I want to know them. You will not. They are 9 years old. They will be asking questions. They have a right to. They have already asked questions. I have already answered them. They have a right to know their father exists. They have a right to know that he chose not to be in their lives. They do not yet have a right to know him personally. That decision will be theirs to make when they are old enough to make it. Not yours. Not mine. Theirs. Imani. Ms. Boutwright. We can do this kindly. Or, we can do this the other way. He had not meant to say it. The words had come out of his mother's mouth through his own. The moment he heard them in the air, he wanted to take them back. She did not flinch. You are threatening me. I am not threatening you. I am saying my family is in a difficult position. I am saying there are options on the table that we would all prefer not to take. I am saying. You are threatening me. Mr. Pemberton, please listen to me carefully. I want you to remember what I am about to say because you're going to be asked about it later. I have been preparing for this conversation for 9 years. I have a lawyer. I have a folder. I have notarized photographs of the cash your mother sent me in October of the year I was pregnant. I have certified mail slips. I have the receipt from the manila envelope I returned the money in. I have the wedding announcement from the Savannah Morning News. I have 9 years of school records, doctor records, lease records, tax records. I have the name and the location of the woman who was your father's housekeeper for 31 years before your mother fired her in 2018 for a reason I have written down and signed and witnessed. I have your sister's text messages to a friend from the spring before I was pregnant. I have a lot of things, Mr. Pemberton. I have been quietly collecting them for 9 years. If you try to take my children, what is in that folder will fall on your family like a roof in a hurricane. Now I think you should go home and tell your mother that. And I think you should choose carefully what you do next. He had not breathed in 2 minutes.
Imani.
Ms. Boutwright. Will I ever be allowed? That is up to them. When they are 13, I will tell them everything I have not yet told them. I will tell them their father is alive. I will tell them where you live. I will tell them what you do. I will tell them what happened the day I stood at your gate. And I will let them decide what they want. If they want to meet you, I will not stop them. I will not be in the room, but I will not stop them. That is the most I can offer you. It is more than you have earned. Thank you. Do not thank me, Mr. Pemberton. I am not doing this for you.
I am doing this for them.
Now, please leave my restaurant. The 7 o'clock seating is going out, and I have work. He stood up. His knees did not quite hold. He held the back of the chair. You are right about one thing, he said. She waited. You are always going to be more than they let you be. I know, she said. She turned to go back to the kitchen. She paused at the door. Mr. Pemberton, I will give you one piece of advice. Take it or do not. Your mother is not going to listen to what I just told you. She is going to come down here herself. She is going to try something else. When she does, I want you to be very far away from it. Because what is going to happen to her is what she has spent her whole life avoiding. And it cannot be stopped now. You can save yourself if you want to, but you cannot save her. You understand? Yes. Good night. She walked out of the office. Eleanor Pemberton came down to the restaurant 2 days later. She came in a black Lincoln Town car driven by a man who waited for her at the curb. She walked in at the lunch hour wearing a navy blue suit and the same string of pearls she had worn the day she had stood on her own porch and called another woman child. She asked the hostess for Chef Boutwright. The hostess sent her to the bar. Imani came out of the kitchen. She did not offer Eleanor her hand. Mrs. Pemberton. Imani. Ms. Boutwright. Of course. Ms. Boutwright. May I sit? I have a 15-minute window before the second seating. Yes. Eleanor sat. Imani sat across from her. I am going to be direct with you. I have come to discuss the children's birthright. They are Pembertons. They should know what that means. They should know our home. They should know our history. They should have access to what their grandfather worked his whole life to build. Their birthright, Mrs. Pemberton, is what I built. Eleanor opened her purse. She set down a folded piece of paper. A bank check. The number on it had 6 figures. This is for you. It is the beginning of a conversation. a trust for the children, a monthly support figure, the house on White Marsh Island. We are prepared to be very generous. Imani did not touch the check.
She did not look at it.
Mrs. Pemberton, do you remember what I said to you in the rain when I was 23 years old? You did not speak. As I recall. I did not. You are correct. I did not speak that day.
So I will speak now.
I will not be paying for it. Those were your words. I will not be paying for it. I would like to return them to you. I will not be paying for it. My children are not for sale, Mrs. Pemberton. They were not for sale when you tried to buy them for $5,000. They are not for sale now that you have come back with more zeros. They will not be for sale tomorrow. Please take your check, and please leave my restaurant. The second seating is starting. Good afternoon. Eleanor Pemberton's face did something it had not done in 47 years. The bottom of it shook. Ms. Boutwright. Good afternoon, Mrs. Pemberton. Eleanor left the check on the table. She walked out. The black Lincoln took her away. Imani put the check in an envelope. She wrote a note. She mailed it certified, with a notary photograph and a delivery receipt. The lawsuit papers arrived 4 days later. The Pemberton family was suing for paternity acknowledgement and grandparent visitation rights. Their attorneys were a firm out of Atlanta, whose name Solomon recognized. Solomon read the papers in Imani's office that night. He read them twice. He laughed once softly. They have no idea what is coming, he said. He picked up the phone. Reverend Lemoyne. It is Solomon. We're going to need the church to put out a few quiet phone calls. The hearing was set for the third week of March, in the Chatham County Family Court, before a judge named Honoria Whitfield Tatum, who had served on the bench for 19 years, and who had grown up on the same block in the West Savannah neighborhood where Reverend Esther Lemoyne had grown up. Solomon did not mention this fact to Imani. He did not need to. The Pembertons came with 3 attorneys from the Atlanta firm and a paralegal carrying 2 bankers' boxes of paperwork. They wore charcoal suits. Eleanor wore black with her pearls. Tobias sat 1 row back. He did not speak to his mother. Solomon came alone, with a single accordion folder and a yellow legal pad. Imani wore a navy dress and small gold earrings. Her hair was pulled back. Aunt Pearl sat behind her. Errol sat next to Aunt Pearl. Grandma Ruth had not come up from the island. I do not need to see those people again in this lifetime, she had said. You go in. I will be on the porch. The Pemberton attorneys went first. They laid out a careful case. They argued that the twins had a right to know their paternal family. They argued that the Pembertons had been unfairly excluded for 9 years. They argued that Imani Boutwright had made it impossible for Tobias Pemberton to acknowledge his children. They argued she had moved residences, changed phone numbers, refused contact. It was a clean story. It was a story a judge in a hurry might have accepted. Then Solomon stood up. Your Honor, I will be brief. I will be calling 4 witnesses today. I have 1 exhibit folder for the court. I have copies for opposing counsel. With the court's permission. Proceed, Mr. Boutwright. Solomon's first witness was a notary public from Broughton Street, a small white-haired woman who had retired 7 years ago but who still remembered the day a pregnant young woman had come into her office to have a stack of $100 bills photographed. She produced her records. Date stamped. Original signature. The serial numbers of the bills matched the bank withdrawal slip Solomon had subpoenaed from the Pemberton family's First Coastal Bank account in October of the relevant year. The Pemberton attorneys objected. The objection was overruled. Solomon's second witness was a postal clerk from the Habersham branch who produced a certified mail receipt from the same week. The recipient was listed as Eleanor Pemberton at the Bull Street address. The package was logged as a manila envelope, signed for by a household staff member. The package had been logged as $5,000 in cash plus a handwritten note. The staff member had recorded the note's contents in a household log because the head housekeeper at the time had required all unusual incoming correspondence to be documented. The head housekeeper was Solomon's third witness. Her name was Delphine Royster. She was 63 years old. She had worked for the Pemberton family for 31 years. She had been fired in 2018 over what Eleanor had called performance issues. Delphine had a copy of her termination letter, her 30-year service award, a notarized affidavit, and a small leather notebook that she had kept for 3 decades. Delphine read 3 entries from the notebook into the record. The first entry, dated the week of the rain at the gate, recorded a conversation she had overheard between Eleanor Pemberton and her attorney. Eleanor had instructed the attorney to make the catering girl problem go away and had specifically requested that any payments be made in cash so that there would be no paper trail. The second entry, dated 3 days later, recorded the preparation of the cash envelope by Eleanor herself, which Delphine had witnessed. The third entry, dated 4 years later, recorded a conversation in which Eleanor had told her daughter Mona, "If those children exist, they exist as someone else's problem. We do not chase what we do not want." Delphine closed her notebook. The courtroom was quiet. "Mr. Boutwright," Judge Whitfield Tatum said. "Anything further?" "One more witness, Your Honor." Solomon's fourth witness was Augustina Pelham, the magazine writer, who had come on her own because she had wanted to.
Tina testified to the public record.
She testified that in the course of her reporting on the Pemberton Bay Street Hotel incident, she had interviewed 4 former employees who had described a culture of explicit racial preference set by Mrs. Eleanor Pemberton personally. She had affidavits. She had names. The Pemberton attorneys did not cross-examine. Solomon rested. Imani took the stand. She was on the stand for 12 minutes. She did not raise her voice. She did not cry. She told the judge what had happened in the rain at the gate. She told the judge what had been in the envelope. She told the judge how she had sent it back. She told the judge how she had raised her children for 9 years without a phone call, without a text message, without a birthday card, without a single dollar of support that she had not earned with her own hands. She told the judge that she would honor any decision the court made, but she asked the court to remember that her children had names, that those names were Naomi Loretta and Noah Errol, and that the only family they had ever known was the family that had shown up. Judge Whitfield Tatum took a 15-minute recess. She came back at 3:45. She denied the Pemberton petition in full. She found no grounds for grandparent visitation. She found that Tobias Pemberton had legally constructively abandoned his children for a period of 9 years and had not made a single legally documented attempt at contact during that period. She found that the petition was filed in bad faith, motivated by the financial troubles of the family business and the publication of a national magazine article. She ordered the Pemberton family to pay Imani Boutwright's legal fees, which Solomon had not charged but which the court estimated at $32,000. She ordered the courtroom records sealed at Imani's request to protect the children. She made one final remark before banging her gavel. "Mr. Pemberton, I have been on this bench for 19 years. I have seen a great deal. I would advise you to spend the rest of your life trying to deserve what was withheld from you today. Whatever the children decide about you in the future will be the only verdict that matters. Court is adjourned." The gavel came down. Eleanor Pemberton did not stand up. She sat in her chair, and she looked at her hands. Tobias stood. He looked over at Imani. She did not look back. He walked out of the courtroom alone. Outside, on the steps of the Chatham County Courthouse, Imani embraced her cousin Solomon for the first time in years. Aunt Pearl was already crying. Errol was already crying. Imani did not cry. She thought about Vivian Marchand's letter. Build it so quiet they do not see it coming. She had built it. They had not seen it coming. That night, at home on East Henry Street, the phone rang. It was Grandma Ruth. "Baby, you won." "Yes, ma'am." "That is good. That is a small thing. I have a bigger thing to tell you." "Yes, ma'am." "You remember the surveyor I let on the land last spring? The one Solomon sent. He was checking for that road the county talked about." "Yes, ma'am."
"Well."
"He came back today. He brought a man with him. The man is from a developer up in Hilton Head. He sat on the porch with me and Pearl this afternoon. He had a number on a piece of paper. The 8 acres, Imani. The 8 acres." Grandma Ruth said the number. Imani sat down on the floor of her kitchen. The number was larger than the value of the Pemberton mansion. Larger than the Pemberton's Bay Street Hotel. Larger than anything she had imagined. "We are not selling," Grandma Ruth said. "Do you hear me? We are not selling. That is not what I am telling you for." Yes, ma'am. I am telling you so you know. The thing is in the ground. It always was. The Lord put it there, and your great-great-granddaddy Cuffy Boutright bought it for $50 in 1869. We are not poor, baby. We never was. We just did not know what we was sitting on. Yes, ma'am. That land is going to your children. And your children's children. And the rest of us will keep eating fish on the porch. You hear me? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now go to sleep, baby. You done enough today. Imani did not go to sleep. She sat on the floor of her kitchen for a long time, and she did the thing she had not done in 9 years. She cried. She cried for the woman in the rain. She cried for her babies. She cried for Vivian. She cried for her mother. She cried because the slow-burning thing in her chest had finally gone out, and what was left in its place was something cleaner. Something with light in it. Something her grandmother would have called peace. 6 months later, Imani Boutright opened the second Boutright table on King Street in Charleston, in a brick building that had once been a corner pharmacy in the 1930s. The grand opening was on a Saturday in September. The line went around the block. 2 months after that, she signed papers on a third property. It was a historic home on Liberty Street in Savannah, 4 blocks from the courthouse where the gavel had come down. The home had been built in 1881 by a Gullah midwife named Cornelia Singleton, who had delivered 643 babies on the Georgia coast in her lifetime, more than any other midwife in the state's history. The house had been a boarding house, then a private residence, then empty for 15 years, with weeds in the courtyard and pigeons in the parlor. Imani bought it outright. She put a brass plaque next to the front door that read the Cornelia House. Safe passage for every woman who enters. She turned the first floor into a cooking school and a small market for Gullah Geechee makers. The kitchen ran free classes on Saturdays for any girl from the public schools who wanted to come. The market sold sweetgrass baskets and Benny wafers and indigo-dyed linen made by a women's collective on the islands. The second and third floors became apartments for chefs and residents, women starting their own kitchens, for free, for a year at a time. The Pemberton Hospitality Group sold both Charleston properties to the private equity firm in November. The Bay Street Hotel in Savannah closed for a renovation that did not have funding to be completed. Eleanor Pemberton had a small stroke in January. The doctors said it was mild, and she moved to her sister's home in Hilton Head and was not seen in Savannah again. Tobias Pemberton sold the Pemberton Mansion. The new owners painted the iron gates a soft green and put a sign that said bed and breakfast out front. He moved to a small house in Brunswick, took a job at a college as a hospitality lecturer, and did not remarry. He wrote Imani one letter, by hand, on plain white stationery. It said, "Ms. Boutright, I am not writing to ask for anything. I am writing to say that I have not stopped thinking about what the judge said. I am trying to spend my life, trying to deserve it. I do not know if I ever will. When the children are 13, if they want to find me, I will be where I am. I will not move. I will not change my number. I will be exactly where I am."
T.
Imani put the letter in the folder in the bottom drawer, with all the other papers from those 9 years. Then she did something she had not done before. She wrote a single line back. "We received your letter. The children know your name. The rest is up to them. I.B." She mailed it certified. She did not include a notary photograph. The first Sunday of June, Imani hosted a family dinner at the Liberty Street house. The courtyard had been replanted in oleander and crepe myrtle. There was a long oak table under the live oak in the middle of the brick patio. There were 16 places set. Grandma Ruth came up from the island in her good blue dress, helped down from the truck by Solomon and Errol. Aunt Pearl came with 2 of her grown daughters and 1 grandbaby in arms. Reverend Esther Lemoyne came with her husband. Delphine Royster, the housekeeper who had testified, came with her 2 grown sons. Solomon came with the woman he had been quietly seeing for 2 years, a public defender named Amara Geddes, who had immediately fallen in love with the family and laughed when she heard the names line up. Augustina Pelham came with her notebook closed for once. 2 of Imani's sous chefs came. The line cook everyone called Big T came with his small daughter, who Naomi adored. And there were the twins. Naomi Loretta Boutright was 9 years old, 4'3", with hair in 2 thick braids and a small spray of freckles across her nose. She had her mother's quiet eyes and her grandmother's quick hands, and she had decided, the year before, that she was going to be a doctor and a chef at the same time. Noah Errol Boutwright was 9 years old, 4 foot 2, with the long fingers of a piano player and hazel eyes with a green ring. He had decided that month that he was going to be a marine biologist and an artist, and that he was also going to live on Sapelo Island in a tree house his cousin Solomon would help him build. They sat on either side of their mother at the long table. They held her hands when Reverend Lemoyne said the blessing. The food came out family style. Red rice, stewed fish, a whole roasted snapper with brown butter and beni, sweet potato cornbread, field peas, collards with smoked turkey, tomato pie, a peach cobbler the size of a tire. They ate until the sun went down. The fireflies came up around the courtyard like small green lanterns. After dinner, when the dishes were being cleared and the adults were sitting around the table with cups of black coffee, Naomi climbed into her mother's lap and Noah leaned against her shoulder. "Mama," Naomi said, quiet so the table could not hear. "We saw the magazine. Years ago. We saw the picture. We know there is somebody who looks like Noah." Imani held very still. "Yes, baby. You said when we were 13 we could decide." "Yes.
We talked about it.
We are not waiting until 13. We are deciding now.
We do not want to know him yet.
We want to know him when we have done some things first. We want him to see us when we are something, not when we are 9. Noah nodded against her shoulder. "Mama, you are enough family." Imani could not speak for a long minute. She nodded. She kissed the top of Naomi's braided head. She kissed Noah's cheek. "Okay, baby. Okay. Whenever you are ready. Not a day before." "Okay, Mama." Naomi slid off her lap and went to find a firefly. Noah went with her. Aunt Pearl looked across the table at Imani and lifted her coffee cup. Imani lifted hers back.
They did not need to speak.
3 weeks later, on a Saturday at the end of June, Imani took the twins down to Sapelo for the summer. The ferry was hot. The marsh was green and gold. Grandma Ruth met them at the dock in the same yellow dress and the same ochre blossom head wrap as the day Imani had come in the rain, 9.5 years before. That evening, after the children had been fed and bathed and tucked into the big bed in the back room with the screen door open to the marsh, Imani walked out to the porch and sat down on the steps next to her grandmother. The sun was going down over the salt grass. The shadows of the live oaks were long across the yard. Somewhere in the marsh a heron made one slow call. "Grandma." "Yes, baby." "Do you remember what you said to me on this porch when I came down here pregnant? About the snake. About not running and not striking." "I remember." "You said something else. After that. I've been trying to remember it. The Lord uses what they throw away to build what they cannot break." "Yes, baby. That." Grandma Ruth reached over and took her granddaughter's hand. Her hand was warm. Her hand was the color of cypress bark. Her hand had buried 2 husbands and 1 son and had not lost a fight with the world yet. "You done it, baby." "I done it, Grandma." "You untouchable now." "Yes, ma'am." "That is good. Now go check on those babies." "The little one was breathing funny when I tucked her in." Imani laughed. She got up. She went inside. She checked on her children. They were both fast asleep, their breathing soft and even, the curtains stirring in the evening breeze, the smell of the marsh coming in through the open window. Naomi had Noah's hand in hers. Noah had a stuffed pelican tucked under his chin. Imani stood in the doorway, and she watched them for a long time. She thought about the woman in the rain. She thought about how that woman had stepped back from a gate and let it close. She thought about how she had never, in her whole life, walked back through it. She thought, for the last time in the story, that maybe the gates we choose not to enter are the ones that build the houses we never have to leave. She turned off the light. She closed the door softly. She went to sit on the porch with her grandmother. The fireflies were rising up out of the marsh. The night was warm. She was finally home.